Hello and welcome back to Stick to Fitness, brought to you by my co-host Archie and myself, Himson. We are back after a little hiatus. New studio, but it's good to be back. And for today's topic of discussion, we are tackling one of the biggest debates in fitness. How much muscle can you build naturally? And is there really a hard limit? Is there a natural genetic ceiling? Or can you push past it and keep progressing forever? I'm sure we've all noticed those bodybuilders who just seem to keep getting better and better with age, a bit like fine wine, which makes us question if this might be true. So I guess the first thing that we need to start by saying is, what is a natural limit?
Or do we all have a different natural limit? Are we going with the theory of that, or does everyone have the same limit? Is your limit different to mine?
I guess obviously genetics is going to play a big role, right?
Yeah.
In terms of your natural ability. But I think if we take that into context of every individual, I think that there still has to be a natural limit. So the natural limit is really how much muscle can you build? You know, what is the physical cap? I guess if we look at it in terms of a broader statement, then it can be, it's not just about muscle, but also, athletic potential as well in terms of other sports. And I guess the limit and the cap is going to be when you're done, no matter how much harder you push in terms of training, how much volume you add, you're unable to gain any more muscle. So that's kind of what I see as a natural limit.
Do you think there's anyone out there that has reached their muscular potential? And are you saying that, like, for example, Phil Heath could never have been any better than what he was? Or did he still have room for improvement?
I think it's difficult to say with Phil Heath because he obviously, his performance...
He's enhanced.
Yeah.
Okay, so... But there's still a limit with that though as well, right? Do you think? Or... Or have they all peaked? If you're at the top of your game, have you then peaked then? Let's just put it that way.
Oh, naturally or unnatural?
Well, both.
I don't know. I think, like, for someone like Phil Heath, right, I think they can always gain more because they can just take more steroids.
True. So then in the natural game, then who do you think, if you're just talking about the top, do you think that they can get any better? Who comes to mind when you're talking about natural limit?
I'm thinking people like Babacar, thinking people like David Kay. Like, they're probably close to, like, natural limit, but...
So you're pointing a cap on those guys, and you're saying they can't...
I'm just saying that. I'm saying they're close to. That's why I said close to. Because I think those guys have... they potentially can push more. Like, every time they compete, obviously David Kay's retired now, but every time he competes, he gets better. All right, so that means that even someone as good as himself, there's still, there isn't necessarily a natural limit because he's still kind of progressing. But I still feel like, I guess, the term in itself of having a natural limit, I think there is one. Otherwise, you could
go on forever.
Yeah, that means you could just build muscle forever and ever and ever and ever.
So when do you think it stops then? And do you think that you'll ever hit your natural limit?
Nah, never.
You don't think you will?
No, because I think there's just so many things. Yeah. Like, it's not... So, based off of Lyle McDonald and Casey Butt's model, right, they estimate that you have approximately 40 to 50 pounds of muscle that you can gain naturally. So this comes down to, like, the first year you're roughly looking at, and this is if you want, like, the best, right? You're looking at 20 to 25 pounds of muscle gain. Year 2 is like around 10 to 12 pounds of muscle that you can gain. Year 3, like 5 to 6. And then after that 4-year mark, it becomes very slow gains of 1 to 2 pounds, which then ends up being around 40 to 50 pounds of muscle. If we're thinking of, over the course of a lifetime, right? That's about, after that point that's 5 years of your training, right? And after that point, you're looking at gaining that 1 to 2 pounds.
And is that if you tick every box for all those years?
Yeah, that's if you're obviously, I think they cover on out, like, for most people, they should be able to accomplish that.
So do you think that, why is strength different then? Or do you think strength is different? So you talk about natural limit of how much muscle you can build. Obviously, there's going to be a limit to how strong you can get, but why is it? It seems to be that you can keep getting stronger for longer than you can in terms of building muscle.
See, this is where I'm a little bit torn, because I feel like there's these studies, right? They're old now.
Yeah.
So this is like, even though it's 2008, it's still relatively recent, but things change throughout the years. So if you're looking at even athletics or Olympics and things like that, the natural limit, what we think is the best, right?
10,000 natural anyway.
Yeah, anyway, the world records, right?
Yeah.
They're getting broken
All the time.
Like, do you know what I mean? So then, is that then pushing beyond limits? Or is it like technology and things like that's improving, right? So there are things like, obviously the knowledge on food, the research on training, the technology in terms of the kit that you're using, right? All of those things are evolving every single year. So then that then allows people to go further in any sport, right?
Mm.
So then why is this not the same for like natural bodybuilding?
What in terms of like supplements maybe supplements in the next 2-3 years?
Yeah, it could be, yeah, even
get
like,
better.
we're talking about the 1% of the 1% here.
Yeah.
So the supplements, they will make a difference. Maybe the knowledge in terms of like sleep and shit like that's coming out, people can optimize.
Yeah, I think we've spoken about before in terms of people, accomplishing things earlier than what maybe, 10 years ago, 3-plate bench was like crazy.
Yeah.
Now it's like, if you're not repping it out, then it's a bit embarrassing, really, because you've got these 17, 18-year-old guys on Instagram that are like lifting, near 300 kilo deadlifts and stuff. And it's like, that was unheard of.
That's what I mean.
10, 15 years ago. It wasn't as common. Like pulling a 300 deadlift was a bit like, whoa, guy must be like serious. But now, if you don't pull that, you're not qualifying for.
You're not serious.
Yeah, you're not a serious lifter. Like before, it was always, 2-plate bench, 3-plate squat, and then like a 4-plate deadlift. Now, you better have 2 plates to each lift if you want to be in contention or anything. It's gone crazy.
Yeah,
So,
I think rather than, because a lot of these studies, they're based off of history, right? Like past research, old shit. And if we are still holding ourselves accountable to that, to say, oh, you can only gain that 40 to 50 pounds or whatever, then maybe we're limiting ourselves as well, because maybe there is more. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's constant.
I think mindset comes into play when you're talking about pushing beyond that limit. Yeah, you obviously have to believe that you can do it, number one. Then you also have to like apply yourself. Whether that means you've got to be eating a surplus for a prolonged period of time and, doing all that sort of stuff. But I think the way that we measure it's gotten a lot better now. Obviously before, it's probably a lot harder to get that actual muscle mass measurement.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's more easily accessible to be able to go and book a DEXA scan, for example. You can just go on the website and book one, pay for it, and then you will have that information more readily available than, again, a couple of years ago, it was probably a little bit harder to actually get accurate information about that. It's like when Ronnie Coleman said that he was 0.1% body fat.
Did you say that?
Yeah. You don't see that clip? Oh my God. Insert clip here.
This shit.
Like, that's not an accurate, well, maybe he did have that reading or whatever it was, like 1% body fat or whatever, but it's not going to be accurate, is it? Whereas compared to the information that you can get today, it's going to be more accurate and more reliable. So,
1%.
You've not seen that clip? I think it was on Joe Rogan.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Maybe, I can't remember. Half the stuff.
We'll look at it after.
He's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's a funny guy. But yeah, like even the research, like they were to say, like, so this is based on males, right? We're saying like 40 to 50 pounds roughly in your lifetime to gain, right? And then for women, like significant, it's half, it's like 20 to 25.
But when does that like start, for example?
I guess it starts when the first year of your proper training, right? So that's the thing as well. Like
that's what I mean. So if you start later in life, if you start when you're 30 years old, I'm assuming then that the amount of muscle you'll be able to build is going to decrease.
That I don't know. That's a good question.
Whereas if you're someone who starts at, like I said, some of these guys are starting now at like 16, 17.
But maybe that's why there's a range, right? So it's like who can actually fulfill their natural potential. So you've got roughly 40 to 50 pounds available to you.
So if you start at 18 and then within, let's just say 10 years, you could reach it. Whereas if you start at 30, you might get to 40.
You may not necessarily have enough time to
do it.
Yeah. That's what
Someone needs to look into that.
Yeah, and then also when it comes to, you know, if you have very, very good genetics as well, then I think you're looking at those are the kind of people, if they tick all the boxes, maybe beyond that 50 pound mark.
So if you do reach your natural limit, what's the point of carrying on afterwards? Completed it.
But that's the thing, right? I don't think.
But okay, so that's one thing. So if you do hit it, what do you do afterwards then? And the second thing is, is anyone actually, how do you know that you hit it then? So you're saying it would just be based off, if you've gained X amount of weight in a certain amount of time.
Definitely.
So if someone told you now you've reached your natural limit, that's it for you. Well, what's your next step? What's your next plan?
That's the thing, right? I think
I'd pack it all in.
Oh, would you?
I'd pack it
So
all
you're
in.
just training.
Well, you're done. Well, what are you going to do? You're not going to achieve anything else.
But you still got to maintain it.
Nah, it's like a video game, isn't it? Once you complete it, that's it. On to the next one. It's like when you finish a film, right? What's next?
Well, you had a misreading.
Yeah. No, but I'm being serious because, like, for some people, the motivation comes from always improving.
But then, like, think about how. So I've gained 15 kilos, right? Pretty much since I started. Like, let's say stage weight to stage weight. Like,
okay, stage weight.
Yeah. So when I was when I first started, I was about 60 kilos when I started. Right now.
So you first competed, you were 60 kilos,
and now when I first started training, I was 60 kilos.
Yeah, I don't know how you can judge it off that though, because
I wasn't lean then.
Yeah, but if you're overweight, for example, you started at, if you start training at 100 kilos, then...
No, but I'm just saying for me, like, this is how I actually gauge it, right? So now my stage weight is 75 kilos. And that's about 15 kilos in terms of, I would say, real muscle that's been put on, right? Because I was out of shape then. I wasn't really fat, but...
It's gone on to your quads.
And now, like, lean on stage, like I'm 75 kilos. That's 15 kilos gained. What's that in pounds? 15,
it's like 6.5, 7.
Not sure. 15 times 2.2. That's 33 pounds. So we're getting close to natural. So that's what I mean. I've been training real hard, right? I've only gained 33 pounds.
So you think you still have more to go?
Let's say I'm higher in terms of genetics, right? Which I think I am. Let's call it 45 pounds, right? My total. I've fucking got loads of me to go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but does it get to the point then where, like, you hit 35, for example, and then your body just starts going the other way? So you might miss the boat. That's
why I don't think I think, yeah, you've got, so then you hang on to that thing, right? Oh, okay, I've got more. So that means,
what about, you talked about stage weights then. What about your stage? Say you competed and you were, first show you were 90 kilos, then you competed the second time, you were 85 kilos.
Yeah, then
what's happened there then?
You've got more still to go.
So you've lost muscle.
Well, that's what happened to me. The first time I stepped on serious.
So I understand that, obviously you can be more lean and things like that, but, you know, ultimately, if you're getting peeled each time and then you're coming up less weight, what does that mean then? You've lost muscle.
I don't know. That's a good question, dude.
Because I don't know how you would actually measure that unless you're going like yearly to get like a DEXA scan.
Yeah.
I don't think stage weight is the correct.
Even DEXA scan.
No, of course, everything's always going to have like its reliability issues and stuff. But like, you know, you can get the bathroom scales. You know, my bathroom scales will tell me my muscle mass.
Yeah.
Bro, it goes like this sometimes. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I've not done anything different. So
these are good questions, man.
We need answers to these questions because otherwise, we're never going to know.
Yeah, I think this is what people are debating about. But that's the thing is, I think the reality is that most people are not going to theoretically hit their max because of, training, diet, lifestyle factors, right? There's so much context when it comes to reaching that natural potential. And then also you've got the law of diminishing returns with it as well. So as the first year that you start and you do everything, let's say everything's optimal, is perfect, you're going to gain a lot the first couple of years. And that fucking drops off a cliff. So when people say, it's taking me a long time and this is slow, it's taking, the people that just start, new clients that just start and they're like, this is taking ages, man. And then, this is the fucking fastest it's ever going to go. So if you think it's going to be slow now, mate, you're in for a...
Well, that's why most people don't actually grow any muscle, isn't it? Over like periods of time. I know I said that before about where, been training for 5 years. You see the same people in the gym every day, whenever to go, at the time. And they just look the same. for 5 years.
What do you think is the biggest roadblocks to reaching the natural
Luck.
but outside of like genetics?
No, do you know what it is? You got, and in all seriousness, you have to want it. Like you generally have to want to hit. If you're saying that there's £45 to be getting, you generally have to want it, and it can be nothing else can be going on. That like you just have to live in a hole, like some of these guys do, you know. And there are people that aren't doing that, and that's why they're great bodybuilders at the end of the day. But if you're serious about gaining that muscle, you have to literally live and breathe it. And even still, then you might not reach that potential, or you might get there and still not be happy with kind of what you've gained, especially if you were a skinnier person before, or you don't have the genetics and on your side. You might gain 45 pounds of muscle, which is great, but then you still look like you don't even lift.
I think the big one is a lot of people put that limiting factor on themselves as well. Like, you know, people say that I've reached my genetic potential, and it's like, yeah, but, and then it's like an excuse.
I tell myself that sometimes. Yeah. When I'm having a bad day, it's like, oh yeah, but you know, back in the day,
I'm already at my peak. I can't gain any more muscle too. So I think a lot of people, like, it's a glass half full kind of thing versus half empty. If you tell yourself that you've reached your genetic potential, right, you know, you're going to behave like you've reached it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But if you still feel like, oh, you know, I'm working out the numbers, I'm thinking, I'm 33 pounds in it, so I've still got 40.
After this, I'm going to do some maths after this. I need to know.
You know, I still got another, 10 pounds that I can gain in terms of muscle. So then that's a glass half full kind of thing. You're trying to fill that cup up. So you're going to push yourself to reach that, right? And you're thinking, how can I reach that? So there's things like, you know, if you're not sleeping properly, so if you're not getting adequate rest and recovery, right, you're not optimizing that. That's one thing that's going to affect your ability to reach your natural potential. I think nutrition as well, if you're not like maybe nutrient timing, that's going to play a role. All those little 1%ers that people think, oh, you know, it doesn't really matter. They fucking matter.
Well, yeah, if you add them up, it's actually like 8, 9, 10%.
Yeah, so it's a lot. They matter when you're reaching your end limit of your peaks, right?
And that's why I think if you want to do it, you do have to
live it. Right?
You have to live the life. You have to live the life. Like, it's almost like that same as like, you want to be a pro, you got to live like a pro.
And then it comes down to, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah.
So then, let's say you've reached your natural limit, right? Or you've pushed yourself very, very hard to get to where you need to get to. In order to get that, maybe to access the extra £5, that last £5 at your limit, you now need to work so much harder. It's like, is that extra dedication to, you know, I'm not going to eat out. You know, I'm going to fucking sleep like a monk. I'm not going to, you know, was it like some people were like, you know, having wanks is not
I'm not going to have sex.
Oh, fuck, I'm going to, what's the abstinence? I'm going to abstain from it. Celibate, that's the word. I want to be completely celibate. So that, you know, is that juice worth the squeeze? You know, and I think for a lot of people,
it's not for me, buddy.
Yeah, no one's gonna go into that. Or not many people are gonna go.
But I think especially when it comes to like
then Jack Fulton.
Yeah, but that guy, he's dull, man. Yeah. That's
Jack. If you're ever listening,
that's the most dull guy in the UK at the minute.
100%
for the last 10 years.
Consistency.
100%.
Like if there's ever like if you look up consistency in the dictionary, it will show you.
Yeah, that's him.
One guy.
He's dull, man.
But that's what I mean.
Like, he wants it though.
He wants it. That's it.
And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want, fucking fill your boots, man.
That's it. But yeah, that's what I mean. Like if you want to reach that genetic like potential, I think these are the things, and whether or not that juice is worth squeeze, like only you can answer that as an individual when you get to that position. But I don't know. I don't think that there necessarily isn't a natural limit. I still feel like there is. I don't think you can grow forever.
No.
You know, but
can you get better with age?
This is not like, you know, I don't think the natural limit is a bit like Mean Girls, you know, where the limit does not exist. So if you watch Mean Girls, you know, that quote, But yeah, I think there is a limit. Like you're not going to be able to grow forever. But how many people get to that point where they're they're ticking all those boxes? How many people live in like Jack Fulton? Do you know what I mean?
Well,
if there's anybody that
hang on, because on Instagram, a lot of people are living that life, or they're portraying that they're living that life.
That's it.
And then when you see them, they're clearly not living that life. So, anyone can do that. You post a picture of your cream of rice and protein, and then you're having like 5 guys.
I can always invite you just to be influenced.
Or you literally, or like going to bed now. It's 8 o'clock. Yeah, literally, and you're on your phone for 4 hours watching TikTok.
You put you're going to bed.
Yeah, why are you
you better have your blue blockers on.
But if I send you a message and say you're awake, you reply saying yeah. That happens.
I'm definitely not.
People do that. Take a picture, like a selfie before they get into bed, and like with the timestamp of like 8 o'clock. It's like, okay, mate. Well, EastEnders has just finished. I'm not ready for bed.
Yeah, I'm definitely not optimizing recovery. That's for sure. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think that there's a natural limit?
I think there's going to be a point where it's just everything's going to slow down.
Yeah.
So
is there a limit? Will it stop? Can you go?
You can't keep. Well, you obviously cannot keep going forever. That's just aging is a thing.
Do you think anybody's actually done it? Like reached the natural?
Michael Hearn.
If he's reached it,
well, the guy is natural, isn't he? Michael Trent is natural. Yeah. Look at that guy. He's like, how old is he now? He's got to be like 50 plus.
Has he grown? Has he changed?
I don't know.
I think his physique stayed pretty much. I don't really follow him too much, but I think his physique stayed pretty much the same.
Yeah, because he reached his natural limit and he just maintained it.
But maybe he's not ticking all the boxes properly.
Now, Michael Hearn's up at 4 o'clock in the morning, man.
Does he?
Yeah, he wants it.
One of those guys like Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, he wants it.
24 hours, train 3 times a day.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think
as Mark Wahlberg,
there definitely is a limit. You definitely can't just keep getting better with age, whether you're on gear or not on gear.
But I think that's the thing, is that I don't think anybody has hit the natural limit. So therefore, we don't know. Because people literally can keep going and going and going.
No, but you can't.
But I think theoretically, yes, there is a limit.
So you're saying that if someone dedicates,
I think theoretically there is I agree with you, there is a limit.
Yeah.
But in reality?
Oh yeah, no, in reality, in reality, I think there's a lot to be said. Because it's, like I said before, even about like the strength thing, it's like, you can always just be a little bit stronger. Even being 1 kilo stronger on a lift is progression. So I guess it's how you look at the progression, isn't it? So if you reach your squat potential, but you added 1 kilo every year for the next 5 years, it's still 5 kilos progression. Still got better. But I guess it's just harder to measure with muscle because, like I said, when did you start and how did you measure it accurately? To be honest with you.
So it sucks to be a female as well because apparently the natural limit is a lot lower. It's like 20, 25 pounds too. It's hard.
Yeah, but it's easy to complete. They're playing on easy mode.
We're playing on smoke on that. Right?
We're playing on hard mode.
But we can gain faster. So our rate of gain's good as well. Whereas their rate of gain's lower. So does that then balance it out? Wait.
Potentially. But they're playing ultra attacking.
Yeah.
And we're playing defensive, It's hard to break down, I guess.
All right, so the final verdict, I think yes. For me, it's yes anyway. I don't know what about you.
I'm in between. I can't decide. Okay. I'm going to say that
he has to decide.
Yeah, I'm going to decide. I think
we don't.
I think there is a limit.
Yeah, there is a limit. Okay, so
there is a limit for it, but what that limit looks like is going to be dependent on you as a person.
Yeah.
So because you could reach your limit of how you're currently living your life, for example. Mm-hmm. So for example, if I use myself as an example, in my head, sometimes maybe I'm like, okay, you've reached your limit based on how your life is now. Because you're doing that,
you're valuable.
You work full time, you have 6 hours sleep a night, you got a young family, whatever. But if I didn't have that, and I could do what I want, and, train, rest properly, maybe I'll save a lot of money because I wouldn't be eating out every day as well. Then my limit maybe would look a little bit different. So that's what I think it comes down to.
I agree. I think, yes, there is a natural limit to muscle growth. But let's be honest, most of you guys listening are nowhere near that. So yeah, if you've been lifting for 2 years and you still can't outlive, your grandma, I promise you, you're probably not, where naturally.
But I think just to add quickly before we go is the whole comparison thing. I don't think we should be comparing our
natural limit from another person
to other people. Yeah,
so that's why there's that range right of 40. I think that's pretty accurate, if I'm honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like 40 to 50, even though the technological improvements and all that stuff we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like the research, is it going to take somebody's natural potential in terms of muscle to be like 10 pounds more than 50? Like, I think not. I think you're looking at very marginal. Like, if you think of running, right? Did people smoke the records? Don't smoke it. They beat it by a tiny bit, yeah. Right? And then over the years, it becomes more like a larger amount. So I think it's going to be the same here. I guess these are old research, but the amount that really progresses, I think, is still not going to be.
Yes, a little bit.
Be a tiny bit. So it'll be there and thereabouts, if I'm honest. But yeah. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to leave a review on iTunes and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you need some help on finding your natural limit, we both offer physique coaching. And you can find me on Instagram at Gym with Him. And my co-host is at Archie13 with 2 E's. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.